I'm Ron Jones from the Lean Braze. I'm in Tucson, Arizona at the Bonnie Prudden Archive Shed, I guess we can call it that. We busted out some of the old vintage equipment that the Prudden people used. I've seen some of her books where they were using these back in the 50s, but until she passed away just recently, they were still using this equipment. So let's take a little tour and see some of the movement quality things that Bonnie Prudden and her myotherapists have been using. These are sawhorses. Now they look like sawhorses, but they're a little bit different because of the way they're built. You can actually stand on the very ends of them without these tipping over. They would do all kinds of drills where the kids would be up on top crawling, they would hang underneath, they would twist around, they could do recline pull-ups. This one has a hole in it. So they would have a pole across, maybe with some tires hanging that the kids could weave through, or they could walk across a pole to the next sawhorse. And these would have been done barefoot, ideally, because they're, developing the neurology in the feet, and the control for everything we do is so foot oriented. And Bonnie was a master of foot fitness, if we could call it that. Okay, so sawhorses, but fitness sawhorses. Here's a nice incline ramp, and a lot of this stuff they built themselves, so it's just plywood screwed or nailed together. And there's endless possibilities. The kids could crawl up, or they could walk up, they could sidestep up, they could jump off, they could walk off, they could hop off, they could do a somersault off. There are all kinds of possibilities with the ramp. But again, ideally it would have been done barefoot. This is pretty cool. This is a ladder, obviously, but it's not meant to stand up and go vertical. It's meant to lay down horizontal, barefoot, and do drills. So we could do crawling on the outside, or we could have our toes on the painted metal bars on the inside. We could stand outside. So a lot of fun with that with the children. Bonnie also used exercise wands. So if you'll notice with Bonnie, everything is painted a bright color because she thought it was more fun. Especially working with kids, they get more enthused if things are kind of pretty. So these were just wooden poles painted. A lot of wand drills with Bonnie Prudden. And this is really fascinating. If you come a little bit closer, Enid, these were balance beams, but they had a T design. And so in the historic books, I noticed Bonnie would have the children or people not just left foot on left side, right foot on right side, but she would cross. And so they might be doing something like this, right? Or some kind of balance drill where they were crossed up as well. And so they had these standards they made. We have two of the sizes. There's a low, medium, and high. You could have the same size on both sides, or you could offset them like this and change the angle. You could have one side in the ground and one side up in the standard, but these things fold up. And I'm just fascinated with the very simple design. A little dusty. They've been in storage for a couple years, but very sturdy and really simple, very light, but yet rigid. And Bonnie Prudden was a master of progression regression, so she understood being able to control movement. So if you had somebody that needed a little bit easier level, you could flip this over and you could use a flat balance beam. And if you wanted a progression, you could flip it back over this way. And of course, all the standards are made the same to be able to take the notch or float the notch off. This was it called a discotheque? Yeah. What therapists use this today, they're called balance disc. But Bonnie Prudden, again, was ahead of her time in many areas, so they made these out of wood. And this is pretty cool. If you've ever seen an endo board, this is kind of like that. It was called a surfer. Is that what they were called? A surfer. But instead of one person, she would have 3 children on the board.
Facing the other way.
Facing this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there would be 3 in a row.
Okay, so there would be, yeah, get this on video, me falling. So there'd be 3 stacked up here, and then they would have to work together to balance as a team. Pretty fun if you're a kid, right? Or an adult. So again, you know, these are things that they made. As you know, we've been making a lot of gear lately because you can't buy this stuff anymore. So anyway, we're just fascinated with what's in the past and the people sharing that with us, and just a little glimpse into the world of Bonnie Prudden. Live from Tucson, a little dusty and it's hot, but we're liking it. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the balance beams. Now, if you'll notice, you know, they're off the ground. Well, most people use balance beams today, if they use them at all. This would be flat on the ground. And Bonnie had a thing about elevating them, and interestingly, I didn't know this until I came over this weekend, is that she worked with some optometrists to help children learn how to read better by using balance beams that were elevated, because she said that the children had to look and then report back.
Look, see, and report back.
Look, see, and report back. So if this is on the ground, this is a little bit easier visually because this is all flat, right? It's like one dimension down here. But if I get this up off the ground, and then I'm up here, as I put my hand down on the board, my eyes are working harder to determine, you know, what's the focal distance of this plane versus here. So from a eye fitness standpoint, that would have been the brain working hard with the eyes to make those decisions, and apparently that helped the reading scores of the kids too.
And also the fact that it was on a slant rather than flat.
Right, so that's another progression.
Yeah.
So we could make this flat and make it easier, or we could have it slanted. We could take it off the standard and have it on the ground and put more of a slope on it. But I think it's fascinating when you look back to things like this, what we can learn and what we can take forward, and what we're not doing today. There's a lot of opportunity to work with the hands and the feet to get people to read better. One of my mentor teachers said when a student couldn't read in her classroom, she would have him on the ground and make him crawl around like a baby, and then lo and behold, their reading scores got better. So there's a lot out there if we look. But anyway, that was one of the reasons that Bonnie liked to elevate the balance beams. It was to help the visual fitness as well.